Okay, can we start?
Yes.
Any doubts from Merton? So we have done till Robert Merton, so some of the theories we need to discuss today. Any doubts from Merton? So can anyone tell me what all things we have done from Merton? So we started off with Merton, okay, and I've given you the introduction, and then we have discussed about postulates, right? 3 functional postulates, and also the concepts which are introduced by Merton, right? 3 new concepts that we have discussed as dysfunction. So when we discussed about the postulate of functional unity, I have told you it is not necessary that all the constituents is ensuring the integration of the system. There can be some disintegrating influence, there can be some dysfunction. So Merton argued for identifying the dysfunction or the disintegrating influence of a phenomena. Okay, so this is for the first time you can see dysfunction in functionalism. So this is considered as one new concept. Secondly, we have discussed about alternatives. Okay, so Merton talked about functional alternative when he discussed about the concept of functional indispensability. So till then, in functionalism, the approach was related to functional indispensability, but now he introduced a concept that it is not necessary that one item is always indispensable or inevitable. There can be some social phenomena or institution which can provide the same function. So you have to identify the functional alternative. Okay, are we okay with this? Then we have also talked about the concept of net balance. Okay, so these are the 3 concepts that we have done, new concepts which are introduced by Merton, and we have also talked about manifest and latent function. Okay, so manifest and latent function. So manifest function means it is a subjective predisposition. It is nothing but the actor's intended meaning. So when an actor is doing certain action, what is the expected outcome? That is the manifest function. Like when you're preparing for civil service exam, what is the expected outcome? That is a manifest function. What is a latent function? That may be understood as societal function from the society's point of view. So manifest function based on individual point of view. So there is an element of non-positivism involved in manifest function. Why element of non-positivism? Because it is basically seen from actor's eyes. So you're actually trying to go with the meanings attached by the actor to his action, and that we have already understood when we discussed about Weber. Latent function means the functions of any action for the society. So this is the objective manifestation or objective consequence. So subjective predisposition and objective consequence. In other ways, intended outcomes and unintended outcomes. And I've told you when we discussed about manifest and latent function, there can also be manifest and latent dysfunctions also. And we have briefly talked about corruption, we have talked about violence against women, etc. Okay, so that's about manifest and latent function. And now Merton also talk about middle range theory. That is also one of the concepts introduced by Merton. So middle range theories. Middle range theories means, see, till then there are some problems with functionalism. Either you will go for very much elementary things. So the problem is, if you go for very much elementary phenomena, the problem is with the generalization. It may not be able to generalize. At the same time, if you consider Parson and all, the problem is abstract theorization, which is not testable. The empirical testability is not possible when it comes to Parson. So Merton argued for middle range theory, like you can see in the approach of Durkheim. Actually, Durkheim studying the middle range phenomena like religion, all those institutions, division of labor. These are middle range phenomena according to Merton. So the idea is you should study the middle range phenomena and you should make the middle range theory. So concepts are dysfunction, alternatives, net balance, manifest and latent function, middle range theory. But when we talk about middle range theory, one thing has to be kept in mind, that is Merton is not against a grand theory. We have discussed about grand theory in Parson. So Merton is not against a grand theory, but Merton is against the abstract generalization which is done by Parson. What Merton says is you conduct a study on middle range phenomena. So some number of middle range phenomena you conduct the study, and some theories you make on different middle range phenomena. combine everything and then make a grand theory. So that will be a grand theory, and that is supported by Merton. The advantage of the grand theory which is formed in such a way will be applicable and will be testable also, okay, because it is a combination of middle range theories. So this is what we have discussed so far. Any doubts, any problem here? Any doubts we can discuss? Any doubts?
No, sir.
Okay. One second. Yeah, Arun, tell me.
Sir, can you explain the middle range theory one more time? So I didn't understand the middle range theory.
Okay. Middle range theory. Okay. Middle range theory means you should not go for too much abstract phenomena. Like what is the idea of Parson? Parson is going for abstract generalization, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, in terms of his AGIL model, and he said any system could be explained in this model. So that is what we call as abstract generalization, and we have discussed in criticism that this theory is not testable. This empirical applicability is a difficult question, and if let's suppose one of the requirement is not met by the system among this AGIL, it is very difficult to identify or understand which requirement is not met, right? So there are a lot of problems with abstract theorization. And if you go for elementary subjects, elementary phenomena, there is no possibility or there is no scope of generalization. So you should be studying the middle range phenomena, which should be in between, like a normal middle range phenomena like family, religion, etc. So middle range phenomena means a normal phenomena which can be seen, which could be having a possibility of generalization. That's what I mean by middle range phenomena. And he is not against, what I'm saying is, is not against grand theory. But not like Parson. Parson went for abstract generalization. He is saying, Merton saying, you make middle range theories, okay, and combine all the middle range theories, and then it will be testable also. Then the grand theory which you are going to make will be testable. Okay, I didn't discuss about the PDF of middle range theory in the previous session. We discussed or not?
No, sir.
Okay, then I'll go through the PDF. Okay, can you see here? Nature of functional theory, that is middle range theory.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the functional theory that you are going to make should be of middle range. That is the idea. So you can see here, according to Merton, sociological theory refers to logically interconnected set of propositions from which empirical uniformities can be derived. That means there is a possibility of generalization. That's what I mean by empirical uniformities. Generalization, but it should be empirical. Okay, that means it must be testable. The problem with Parson is it is not empirical. The theories formed should be of middle range. The term middle range signifies choosing a phenomena which is based on limited set of assumptions, okay, from which specific hypothesis can be derived and tested empirically. The task of middle range theories is to bridge the gap between a raw empiricism and abstract generalization. Raw empiricism means just collection of data with no scope for generalization. So you collect data, very less scope for generalization. Abstract generalization means, like Parson, do not have any scope of empirical testability. So thus middle range theory will take specific aspects of social reality which can be theorized and empirically tested. So you should be able to make theory, and at the same time it should be testable according to Merton. According to Merton, the theories developed by Durkheim were based on middle range phenomena. For example, religion, suicide, etc. Middle range theories must be based on empirical research and uses a wide range of quantitative and qualitative methods. So I've told you Merton actually criticized the initial functionalist theories for their lack of use of methods. So he is stressing on use of both quantitative and qualitative method. I've told you with the time of Parson and Merton already, the distinction between positivism, non-positivism, micro, macro, quantitative, qualitative, all are gone. Now the researchers use both methods as per the convenience. Okay. The application of these methods is only possible with middle range phenomena. Okay, so the problem with Parson is why he is not using any specific method, because he is going for abstract generalization. So here, if you need to use the methods, you have to choose the middle range phenomena, because it has to be empirically collected, empirically tested. Thus, Merton argues that middle range theories are a triple alliance between theory, method and data. This line has to be there in your answer. This particular sentence has to be there in your answer, in your conclusion if the question is asked on middle range theory. Merton argues that middle range theories are a triple alliance between, there should be a theory, there should be proper method, and there should be use of empirical data which is testable. Okay, now here we are talking about grand theory. Merton was not averse to grand theories, but according to him, grand theory can be made only on the basis of combining a large number of middle range theories. Okay, in this way the resulting grand theory will also be empirical in nature. Okay, Arun?
Sir, no, I'm yes.
Okay, so can we move towards the next concept, that is functional paradigm?
Yes, sir.
Merton's functional paradigm. So this is actually a 10 marker direct question. Okay, like manifest and latent function, 10 marker. Functional paradigm is a 10 marker. Okay, the concepts which are introduced by Merton, that is again a 10 marker. The functional postulates that we have discussed, the 3 postulates, that is again 10 marker. Middle range theories, that is again 10 marker. So basically if you see Merton, you will get a lot of 10 markers. Even the theory of anomie, it can be long answer, it can be a 10 marker also. The theory of reference group, that is a very small theory. So like this, a lot of potential questions are there for the compulsory questions, like the 10 markers. Now paradigm, this is very, very simple. Around 9 steps are there, just understand and then you will never forget it. So first, what Merton says is, if you are conducting a study, you have to select an item which should be of middle range. Okay, so that is what he is stressing on till now. We have seen already. So you should be selecting a middle range phenomena. So when you're selecting the middle range phenomena, there should be a standardized pattern. Okay, so there should, like when you talk about religion, there is a standardized pattern. When we talk about family, there is a standardized pattern. It is not that any individual phenomena we are going to study. There should be some standardized pattern. It should be understood by people in the common way. It should be having regular occurrence, etc. That's what I mean by standardized pattern. So you are choosing a phenomena which is having a standardized pattern which should be of middle range. That is the first step. Okay, second step is you should specify the context in which you are going to conduct the study. For example, when we talk about caste system, will you ever talk about caste system in US or European society? No, right? So caste system, it has to be specified that the study is in India. So the context, the social context of the item has to be specified. That is the second step. Third step is, whenever you are conducting any phenomena, for example, when you talk about family, what you need to do is, so far whatever studies have been conducted related to family, you have to go through the studies and then explain all these studies. This is what Merton calls as post factum analysis. Okay, post factum analysis means conduct all the, do a research on all the theories and studies which has been done so far. So if you are studying family, you select family, which is a standardized item, specify the context, and then you talk about give a description. So I would say, give a description of the phenomena under study. So these are 3 steps. Fourth step is related to the functions, identifying the function, because it is a functional paradigm, functional theory. So first you identify the manifest function, or technical word if I need to write, subjective predisposition. Fifth is latent function. Identify the latent function. That I can say objective consequences. Then sixth is manifest dysfunction. So you have to identify the dysfunction. Then seventh is latent dysfunction you identify. And then eighth is you have to, so here we have done 7 steps. So we have identified the functions, dysfunctions, manifest function, latent function, manifest dysfunction, latent dysfunction, everything we have done. Now we need to provide the functional alternative. For example, when we are studying family, is there any alternative? Is there any functional alternative, right? So you have to provide the alternative. And the 9th step, what you need to do? You need to give the net balance. So what all things that we have discussed here, like you have to see this manifest function, latent function, manifest dysfunction, latent dysfunction, consider the alternative, attach certain weightages, okay, some scales or weightages, and come up with the net balance, and then tell whether family is functional altogether or not. So this should be the method in which you should be conducting the study. So 9 steps, easy to remember, exactly the same as what I have written over here. We will move through the PDF now. Okay, so you can see here in his book Merton's Functional Paradigm, there is a 10 marker. In his book Social Theory and Social Structure 1949, Merton proposed a detailed method for the purpose of formulating a functional theory. This paradigm, according to Merton, will be used by the investigator to ensure objectivity as far as possible. Okay, the first step, the social item under study must be of standardized item. That means there should be a pattern. That is, it should have a regular occurrence. The item chosen must be of middle range. That is, it should not be too abstract and not too empirical. Okay. Next, the social context of the study should be specified clearly, as their meanings may change with a change in context. Thus, Merton demarcated the boundaries of study to be conducted. Next is, the context has to be, okay. Third one, a sheer description of the social item under study must be done. All facts and theories earlier conducted must be collected by using both primary and secondary sources, and he preferred a post-factum social investigation. The assessment of meanings of that item for its group members must be studied. Okay, it refers to knowing the subjective predisposition or manifest function. That means you identify the manifest function. After this, the investigator should identify the motive not recognized by the individual. That means a hidden aspect or the latent aspect. So that is a latent function. After identifying the functions, the motives for deviance or motives for deviance should also be studied. Okay, deviance means violation of norms. That is identification of manifest and latent dysfunction. I have written it together here. You can write it separately also. After this, the investigator must highlight the functional alternative which could provide the same function. This involves comparing, identifying other elements fulfilling the same function. Finally, the investigator must identify the net balance of the functions, a range of units to be attached. Okay, and you can quantitatively deduce the net balance of the function, and then tell whether the given or the theories or the social institution is altogether functional or not. That's about the functional paradigm. Any doubts?
So what are primary and secondary sources?
Pardon? Come again.
Primary and secondary sources.
Primary and secondary sources means it's a method of data collection. You can directly study, direct approach is what the primary sources. Secondary sources means asking to other people and studying like that.
Okay.
We have discussed that in Verstahan itself. I have discussed primary sources initially. You will later you will use initially. Secondary sources will use like that.
Sir, in this post-factum social investigation, is he talking about investigating on all the theories that has been done?
Whatever theories possible, you can collect, so that it will give a better picture of the. That is what actually he mean by the secondary sources.
So you collect the data and verify with the theory.
Yeah, you collect all the theories which are collected so far and make an idea from that. That should be acting as your secondary sources.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything else? Okay. Can we go for criticism?
Sir, were these paradigms used by anyone in any of the theories or
No,
by modern?
actually this is something which you need to use in your approach. Okay, so how can you write a sociological answer? So this paradigm is what you need to keep in your mind to use, in your answer, so that you can write a very good sociological perspective. In general, a random question is asked. Okay, so you can use this paradigm to answer that particular question. You can specify the context. Okay, for example, if you talk about green revolution or anything, whatever it is, or if you talk about the sex ratio, you have to specify the context, and then you go for post factum social investigation. That means whatever theory and other things which you can write. Okay, the thinkers, that means the thinkers you can write, and then you can identify the functions, the manifest functions. Okay, so this is how you have to be writing your sociological answer. This is how you can bring the sociological perspective. So talk about the manifest function. Okay, this word itself will give you that advantage. Talk about the latent function, talk about the net balance, and you should be providing the alternatives, and finally understand the net balance and conclude it. So this is actually very much useful for you people to write the answer. And any theorists are obviously following this approach only, because if you are a functionalist, you have to follow this approach. Okay?
Basically, it has the crux of both positivism and non-positivism.
Yeah, it is having both.
Yeah.
Actually, even he is saying directly that you can use quantitative and qualitative. Apart from that, from here you can see manifest function means it is nothing but Weber. Okay, latent function means it is nothing but Durkheim. Manifest function is a subjective predisposition, the individual's intended meanings, individual's intended outcome. That is Weber. Latent function means it is the outcome for the society. That is Durkheim. So both are coming here. So what I am saying is, if you need to write a sociological answer, you just need to follow this paradigm. Apart from this, whatever you can do is you can add in between micro, macro, etc. So these things you can add. You will get a very good sociological perspective in your answer. Kanishk, I will give you a paper. I will give it soon. Okay. Shubham also, I will give you a paper soon. Arushi, I will give you a paper soon. Yeah, Aman, tell me.
Sir, I have one doubt. While making the grand theories, subjectivity will come into the picture. So how he is saying that we can test it?
Subjectivity.
Empirical testing can.
Anyway, subjectivity will come. There is no question about that. Subjectivity will come in any analysis or any study which you are doing in sociology. Subjectivity will come. But he is proposing certain methods, and when you talk about all these functional alternatives, etc., to an extent it can be removed. That is what Merton says.
Okay, sir.
Because you are identifying the functions and dysfunctions. Both are mentioned. If it is subjective, when it is more subjective, we will say functional bias. When, in which case, you will only try to identify the function. But here, Merton also asking specifically in the procedure itself that you have to list down the functions, then list down the dysfunction. Not only manifest function and dysfunction, latent function and dysfunction also you have to list down. So in that context, and finally Merton also says you have to assign certain weightages. You can see here, you have to assign certain range of units, weights. But see, the problem is we will criticize this point. He is talking about weights and units, etc. But he failed to give any scale or weights or units. So even the attachment of this weights and units itself will be colored by the bias of the investigator. I may attach 2 points to functions if I am a functional bias, and 1 points to dysfunction, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, but Merton trying to do maximum, he is saying net balance itself include the range of units, etc. So this is actually making it clear that you are going to do it quantitatively. So maximum possible objectivity is trying to ensure, but it again completely left out to the investigator. But if you see the paradigm, you can see if you follow this approach, you can conduct an objective study because nothing is left here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
To very extent, we can do it.
Obviously.
To the large extent.
Yeah. Because the problem with functionalists till then was not identifying the dysfunction. Also latent function and latent dysfunction. Okay. So that problem was solved. Also functional alternative was not there. Now it is there.
Sir, hello sir. One more thing. Sir, is it the chance that dysfunction will be sure?
Dysfunction
Suppose there is rights is there. So the dysfunction will be sure for anything? Is it necessary?
See, what Merton says is there may be some disintegrating influence.
Okay, maybe.
Maybe. In any case, even when we talk about this class also, there may be some disintegrating influence also, right? So any system, it is not necessary that all the constituents are ensuring the unity of the system.
Okay.
There can be some disintegrating influence anywhere.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Got it.
Can we move to criticism? Okay, this is actually very easy. We can just read it out and we can wind it up. So then we will move to the theory of anomie, which is very important. So criticism of functional approach. Okay, choosing a standardized pattern may lead to an assumption in the mind of investigator that the item must be fulfilling some vital functions and that is why it is existing. Thus, his analysis may be biased towards identifying the function. So anyway, if you are a functionalist, any element that you are choosing, there will be an inherent assumption that it must be fulfilling certain function, and that is the reason why it is existing. Okay, so his analysis may be biased towards identifying that function only. You may not identify the dysfunction. You got the first point? Second, there is an implicit assumption of functions in Merton's analysis. That means, according to him, if the manifest function is not there, there may be latent function. That is, if an item is dysfunctional in particular context, it may be functional in the other context. He has never talked of any item which is dysfunctional altogether. Okay, so here also there is an implicit assumption of function. Merton talks of functional alternative but never commented on relative importance of an item in the performance of an action. For example, I have told you family, one of the function is taking care of child. So he is talking about alternative, but he never talked about the relative importance, whether the child care center will provide exactly in the same way that a family or not. Similarly, old age home. So all these things you also need to identify the the practical applicability or the relative importance. Okay, the relative importance will be a question. You can talk about functional alternative, but the child care centers or old age homes, etc., they can never replace the family. Merton never proposes a criteria to judge the net balance. I've already told this point. To judge the net balance, on what basis the weights can be attached, which scale to be used, and how the final conclusion can be made. Merton is silent on all these questions. The whole process of identifying the net balance involves the subjectivity of the investigator. So I hope, Aman, you got the answer for your first question.
Yes, sir, got it.
So Merton proposed a method. Based on the method, you can ensure objectivity. But for that, the investigator also have to cooperate. Okay. Merton never emphasized on the distinction between cause and function. Thus, he could not resolve the problem of illegitimate teleology. So we have discussed this point time and again when we discussed about Durkheim, Parson, everywhere. Illegitimate teleology we have discussed. That is the inability to separate cause and function. And Durkheim is separating cause and function, so he is not accused of the problem with, he is not accused in case of illegitimate teleology. Now, none of the Merton's theories has been consolidated into a more generalized theory. That means his idea of grand theory is questionable. He is talking about grand theory, but no grand theories has been made. Moreover, the subsequent middle range theories were not more than the description of the item and a massive empirical generalization resulting in abstract explanation which cannot be tested empirically. So, what we are saying here is the middle range theories that he made, it is nothing more than the description of the item only, nothing else. And if you try to generalize it further, it will become abstract explanation, which is having no testability. Okay, so these are the criticisms of Merton's approach. So any doubts?
How about the contribution and the relevance?
We will discuss. It is not yet completed. Whatever we have discussed so far, the criticism of that is what we have done.
Okay.
The thinker is not completed. The main theory is coming only. So we basically discussed about his approach, his method, his new concepts, etc. Okay, and the criticism also we have discussed. Now the actual theory is coming. Okay. So he basically gave this theory of anomie, very important theory. Anomie you have already seen when it comes to Durkheim also. So anomie means what? Anomie means a situation of normlessness, a widespread disobeying of norms are following, right? Norms means what? Can someone tell me norms? It is the expected behavior, right? So you are expected to behave in a certain way. Anomie situation means there is a total situation or a state of normlessness. You are not following any rules, regulations, norms of the society. That is what anomie situation. It can also be understood as deviant. Okay, it can be said as deviant act. I've told you, wearing a white sari in a marriage is not considered desirable. It is not considered good. It is not expected from you. So it is actually against the norm. You know the reason. And if you are wearing the white sari, then you are considered as deviant. Not in the modern society, especially in the traditional society. But here, you are not violating any law. You are violating the norm. When you violate the norm, you are deviant. When you violate a law, you will be criminal and you will be punished. Here, violation of norms, there won't be any punishments. Okay, so that's what you mean by deviance or the anomie situation. Now Merton talks about 4 different situations of anomie, 4 cases of anomie in his theory of deviance or in his theory of anomie. So the question can be asked as theory of deviance, the theory of anomie. In any way the question can be asked and this should be your answer. So anomie is actually a situation of discrepancy between means and goals. So you have means and you have goals.
Sound problem. Sir, sound problem is coming.
Okay, for everybody the problem is there with respect to sound?
No, not for me.
It is fine. No, sir.
Fine.
Okay. So, yeah, are we okay now, Aman?
Yes, sir, fine now.
Okay, so what I'm saying is anomie means if there is a discrepancy between means and goals. Okay, let me show you the definition. So this is the okay, so this is the definition. Anomie is defined as a situation in which there is a discrepancy between culturally defined goals. Okay, so there are certain goals which is defined by culture and there are structural means to achieve these goals. Okay, so Rahul, can you turn off your mic? There are structural means to achieve these goals. So there are certain goals and there are certain means to achieve the goals. Okay, so if there is a discrepancy between this means and goals, then that situation is what you call as anomie. Now you can see here there are means, there are goals. So between them, if there is a problem, then that situation is what you call as anomie. There should be a discrepancy between means and goals. That is what anomie, and there are 4 different possibilities of anomie. Okay, so first case, conformist. That means there is no discrepancy. You follow the correct means, you follow the correct goals. You achieve the goal, you follow the means. You want to become rich person, okay, that is the goal, and you go for employment and you do the business and you do all this possible legal activity and you become rich. So that is conformist. Even if there is a difficult situation, the conformist will try to follow the proper means. There won't be any violation. Okay, so that is the first case, conformist. So this is not part of anomie, but these four are part of anomie situation. So second case, you can see innovator. This person will go for innovation. So there is a goal and you will achieve the goal, but you follow not the structural means. Okay, for example, you want to become rich. That is the goal, but you go for robbery. Okay, you go for robbery. So this is what, the structural means and goals, there is a discrepancy. So that is innovation. Okay, now he is taking innovation to a different level, and you can see here, this is direct, this is manifest case, and this is dysfunctional for society. The one which I have discussed, that is dysfunctional for society. But he is talking about something which is functional for society, that will also part of anomie. For example, if you talk about a scientist, so his objective, let's say he want to develop a medicine. Okay, so he want to develop a medicine, and for that he have to change the means and he have to go through different means, and then only he can do that. So he may not follow the correct means, but he achieved the goal. Okay, so in this case, scientist also deviating from the means but achieving the goal. So he is saying a scientist is also considered as deviant. So that is latent. Not, this is hidden, right? So Merton talking about both manifest and latent. So when we discussed about robbery, that is direct manifest case. Okay, this is latent case, but this is functional. Robber's case is not functional. That is dysfunctional, this is functional. Are you able to follow me?
Yes, sir.
Now third one, ritualist. So when we talk about ritualist, what you can see here, they are following the rules, regulation, means, correct means they are following, but they never achieve their goals. Okay, just like some bureaucrats excessively sticking to the rule book and following the rules, that lead to red tapeism, and no files will move. They stick to the rules, come to the office at 9 o'clock, go back to home at 5 o'clock. Okay, but the goals will never be achieved. You follow the rules, no doubt in that. So a typical bureaucrat will come under ritualist. So manifestly speaking, he is conformist, right? Because he is following the rules and everything. But if you think in a different way, he is not achieving the goal. So he is actually, a deviant. Manifestly he is not deviant, but he is actually a deviant because he is not achieving the goal. Similarly, a teacher. If I keep on teaching here without knowing that whether you are understanding or not, then I am following the means. I am just teaching, but I am not achieving the goal. The goal is basically to make you understand. You got it? So in that context, the teacher is also considered as ritualist. Manifestly, I am not ritualist because I am talking and you are listening to me. So there is no question of, deviant activity here or anomic situation here. But manifestly, there is no deviance. But otherwise, if you see, if I am not able to know whether you are able to understand or not, because that is a goal. So there is a violation of goal. Even though you are following the means, you keep on teaching, students are not understanding, that is also a deviant act. Next case, retreatist. So here you can see there is no means, they violate the means, no goals, like the case of saints, drug addicts, etc. Okay, so they don't care, they don't go with the norms, they don't have any goals also. Now, for technically, most of the problems that is done by these people will be for themselves only. Maximum harm done by these people are for themselves. So not a big problem for the society with respect to these people like saints, drug addicts, etc. Okay, but this last case, rebellion. So what they do, you can see here minus, so they don't follow the means, they won't follow the goals. Rather, they create new goals and new means. Okay, like here also positive and negative will be there. Positive, the social reformers, they reject the means and goals and they follow the new goals and means. On the other hand, negative will be there, that is terrorist. Okay, Naxalites, etc. So I hope you understood this table. This table itself is enough for understanding the theory. Nothing more is there. And I've told you, when we started with sociology about this theory, I've told you, directly you can use this concept in your ethics paper. So innovative, this is the best possible answer in your ethics paper. You have to follow the correct means and correct goals. Okay. So this is the second possible option because you are following the goals. You are achieving the goal, whatever you following. This is the utilitarian thought. This is a utilitarian thought. Maximum good for maximum people, you are achieving the goal. This ritualist, you are following the means, you are not achieving the goal. This is actually the Gandhian thought, a different version of deontological thought. And this anyway is worst, and this we are not even talking about in ethics. Okay? So this is how you can actually frame an objective answer in ethics paper. You can fix these points in mind. This is just one strategy in ethics. There are many other things that you need to combine. I'm just saying, once you know sociology, you're going to get a lot of advantage. Okay, so this can be directly applied in your ethics paper also. Apart from what all things, the moral thinkers and the philosophies that you're going to learn, you can use this. And even from Parson also, you can use the concept of motivational orientation, value orientation in your ethics paper. When the value conflict, the ethical dilemma comes. We have discussed about dilemma now in terms of pattern variables. So that also could be used in ethics paper. Okay. So here, any doubts here with respect to this table? This is very simple only. Can we discuss now?
Sir, but this norms and means differ from society to society, is it, sir?
Norms and means not only different from society to society, even context specific also. These things. Okay. That here it is not important anyway. That is important for ethics only. For example, you may be talking about this context. Killing may be considered as good in some context. Okay, in some society. For example, when you talk about mercy killing. Okay, mercy killing is considered good, or capital punishment. This has to be done for the that it will act as a deterrence, and then for self-defense. So all these things are not part of this discussion.
Okay, sir. Okay. Sir, I have a doubt regarding the second point, innovators. Sir, in that you said that they do robbery to become rich. So I have a doubt that whether Merton has said that poor people will do robbery, or is it applicable?
No. Merton did not say poor people will do robbery. This is an example. That I am giving an example that what is the goal? Goal is becoming rich. Everybody, we all have this goal. Okay, for that what you can do investments, you can trade in stock market, you can do many other things. Whatever you can do business, you can go for any other job. Whatever is possible you can do, but this also is done by some people, so this is dysfunctional.
Okay, sir.
Okay, see this case you want to become rich, first case you becoming rich and you follow the correct goals and means also.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So theory of anomie, can we discuss now?
Yes, sir.
Merton explained his theory of deviance in his first work titled Social Structure and Anomie, 1938. This theory also forms part of his later work titled Social Theory and Social Structure, written in 1949. The theory is developed in the backdrop of Great Economic Depression of 1920s and 30s, in which number of deviant acts were witnessed and a general state of normlessness is prevailed. So this is actually the context, the Great Depression, which has been there in 1929. So in the backdrop of that, a lot of deviant acts were witnessed. So this is actually the context. His theory of deviance is based on his own conception of anomie. Now if you remember anomie, before also we discussed when it comes to Durkheim. Okay, so here it is slightly different. Here he is giving importance to the structure of society. You can see the structural means, right? So he is giving importance to structure of society. When it comes to Durkheim, what we have discussed, it is a state of normlessness, temporary state of normlessness, which is coming out of elation, indignation, etc. But here it is a problem with the structure. So anomie is defined as a situation in which, see, I forgot to embolden and underline all those important points. So you can see here, anomie is defined as a situation in which there is discrepancy between culturally defined goals and structural means to achieve those goals. So you have to write exactly the same, centralize it and write it. Okay, so this is a definition given by Merton. In this context, anomie is considered as a structural problem in society. So this is also a very important word, structural problem in the society. It is a problem with the structure of society. Merton deviated from Durkheim's concept of anomie and considered it as a structural feature of every society. According to Durkheim, anomie occurs during the waves of indignation, distress, enthusiasm. These are temporary situation. Okay, temporary abnormality or pathology situation we have discussed here. So this state, okay. So continuation, this state according to Durkheim counts on account of sudden changes and occurs occasionally. Thus, Merton considered this problem of normative order. One minute. Yeah. Thus, Merton considered this problem of normative order. Problem of normative order means the norms and values. The problem of normative order means it is the situation of anomie in terms of gap between goals and means. Goals and means have both subjective and objective states. Individual preference with respect to goals and means cannot be ignored. But the structural dimension acquires primacy in Merton's theory of deviance. According to him, deviance is a situation in which a person fails to conform to the normative order in terms of adherence to the means and goals. So when anomie will come, if there is a failure to conform, that means there is a discrepancy. If both are plus, there is no anomie. In case if you can see a discrepancy, then there is anomie. There are 4 types of anomie or deviance which results from discrepancy between means and goals. So this is that 4 different types. So this situation is anomie and this is conformist. On the basis of acceptance and rejection of means and goals, Merton delineated 5 possible responses of an individual. Out of this 5 possible responses, 4 responses pertain to deviance. According to him, there is a vast section of population who remain conformist as they accept means and goals. Okay, so I'm talking about this first person. So they remain conformist even if a conformist faces a discrepancy, in case there is a dilemma, but still he chooses to accept culturally available means and goals. The other 4 types of deviance are in the form of 4 different adaptations exhibited by people in response to state of anomie. Okay, so innovator, ritualist, retreatist and rebellion. You should be knowing these names, you should be writing the names. Okay, explain, you need to explain also, you need to draw the table also. So innovation occurs when an individual accept the culturally defined goals but reject the socially acceptable means. It occurs in the case of criminals who, in order to achieve their goals, tend to devise new means. Okay, robbers. And you also need to write that this is dysfunctional. So innovation can be functional as well as dysfunctional. So first case is dysfunctional. Merton broadened the concept of innovator by arguing that even the scientists are deviant as they devise new means, and this is functional. Thus, even the person who seemed to be conformist is actually deviant structurally. So scientist, we consider him as conformist, but structurally he is deviant because he is violating the root. Okay. Ritualist accept the socially acceptable means but fails to understand or follow the goals which is defined culturally. For example, a typical bureaucrat who excessively conforms to the rule book and in the process reject the goals. Ganga, can you turn off your mic?
Sorry, sir.
Okay, similarly, a teacher performs the task of teaching religiously but fails to take care of the needs of students is a ritualist. Okay. In this way, even a ritualist is conformist at the same way. So we think that this bureaucrat is conformist, this teacher also as conformist, right? So, but structurally they are deviant, they are ritualist because they are not achieving the goal. So third one, retreatist. It involves the rejection of both goals and means. So they don't care about goals and means. A situation in which a person either consciously or unconsciously reject both means and goals. Merton gives the example of drug addicts, alcoholics, saints while explaining the retreatist behavior. Although retreatists reject both, but there is an element of conformity in his action. Why? Because the maximum harm is done by the retreatist is to himself. He is not harming the society much. Structurally, his action do not harm the society. Rebellion, it involves not only rejection of both means and goals, but also creation of new means and goals. A rebel suggests new legitimacy which may form part of the structure in future. For example, social reformers tend to reject the prevailing norms and proposes new ways, right? For example, Raja Ram Mohan Roy, he rejected sati, okay, so, and he proposes the new situation, and that became the history. So then terrorist, so this is functional. In case of social reformers, this could be identified as functional, and this is dysfunctional. So you can see functional and dysfunctional in almost all the cases, right? So that is how you can say Merton introduced new concepts, Neofunctionalism. So this is a Neofunctionalism, new types of functionalism. Dysfunctions is incorporated in functionalism. Okay. Thus, Merton proposed a middle range theory of deviance where he associated this phenomena of deviance with structure of society rather than associating deviance with a particular personality type or even abnormal experience. So this is how you can see, I've already told you about Durkheim, so you can keep a watch here. It can be asked as a question, how the conception of anomie is different from Durkheim. Okay, so Merton's concept of anomie, how is it different from Durkheim? So you can see here.
And we can use this as a criticism also.
Yeah, you can use this as criticism also. Any thinker, when you can interchangeably use, no? Okay. In this way, Merton uses a multidisciplinary approach to understand the middle range phenomena, that is deviance. So now, when you get a question on middle range phenomena, you should be writing this as an example. Okay, you can write Merton's this theory of deviance as an example. His theory emphasizes on understanding both intended and unintended consequences of deviance. For example, a scientist intends to benefit society, but in terms of unintended consequence, he is a deviant. So this has to be written where? If the question is about manifest and latent function, if the 10 marker is about manifest and latent function, there also you need to talk about this particular situation. I hope you understood. And similarly, you can talk about scientist, you can also talk about bureaucrat, who's a ritualist, manifestly believe that he is a conformist because he is thinking that he is following the rules, but he is not achieving the ends. Okay, because it is not a big deal that a civil servant is doing some social activities. It is for that only he is actually paid. So he is getting paid for doing some social activities only, and it's not a great thing. You have to do it. So in his theory, Merton also talks of the possibility of dysfunction of existing practices, thereby modifying the functional approach. This initiated modification in functionalism, leading to initiation of more resilient neo-functional perspective. Okay, so he is considered to have the father of neo-functionalism, because I've already told you Parson took functionalism to its logical conclusion. Now Merton added few elements and neo-functionalism. Okay, now critical analysis. So you can see here contribution. Merton is known for his contribution in terms of middle range theories and the functional paradigm proposed by him. So you just need to basically talk about middle range. You need to talk about this middle range theory. You need to talk about paradigm. You can talk about manifest and latent function. You need to talk about dysfunctions. There is no point in reading this. I hope you know already what the contribution you need to write from Merton, rather than reading this. He employed a multidisciplinary approach by combining sociological and psychological perspective in order to resolve the dichotomy of individual and society. For example, the concept of manifest and latent function, that you should be in a position to write that, is unique contribution in this regard. Merton is considered as the father of Neofunctionalism. That is his contribution on account of the modifications. You know what are the modifications? Okay, his theories of deviance, reference group, etc. are known to be examples of unique theoretical framework which combines theory, method and data. So that is a contribution. Relevance. Merton is still considered relevant in terms of his emphasis on choice of limited range phenomena, that means middle range phenomena, which even the postmodern theorists favor, but at the same time the possibility of grand theory have been rejected. So first aspect is supported, but the second aspect is rejected. Merton's theories are relevant in generating a holistic explanation because of its emphasis on not only the descriptive aspect but also due to intended and unintended consequences, which include both individual meaning and societal objective. His theories, particularly the reference group, has been widely used in educational system, defense and management. Okay, so this theory, what I will do is I will upload this theory in the app. Okay, so you can watch that video. I just need a 10-minute video only for reference group. So I will upload in the app this theory, and also the criticism also we will discuss over there, and I'll share you the link. So any doubt from today? Any doubts?
Sir, what is the meaning of
Neofunctionalism means,
Marxist?
I have told you already that functionalism have been taken to its logical conclusion by Parson. So Merton introduced new concepts into that, so neo-functionalist. Neo-Marxist means again Marxist, the Marxist perspective, the conflict perspective can never be directly applied in the contemporary society. So that led to some modifications in Marxist perspective. That is what neo-Marxist. Neo-Marxist is
something changed.
Some changes
something new,
some changes in the Marxian original assumptions of Marx.
Okay, sir.
And that's what this Frankfurt School. Yeah.
Okay, sir. I have one general doubt.
Tell me.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, in the GS1 we have the syllabus of social issues. So do we have to read it separately, or with this session will cover
You
it?
never want to. You never want to study social issues separately.
Okay. Sociology will cover it.
Yeah, sociology will cover it. Paper 2 will cover it completely.
Okay.
They can never ask any social issue which is not part of your paper 2.
Yeah. So I just wanted to ask actually.
Yeah. That will automatically cover.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Anything else? Shubham?
No, sir.
Okay. Arun?
So no doubt, sir.
Himanshu?
No doubt, sir. All good.
Tejashini?
No doubt, sir.
So can we stop here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we can start.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, see you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.